The history of this paddock is previous 3 years sown to lucerne, and in October it was sprayed, half the paddock was sprayed with the best product. There's been no rain throughout this period of time. It didn't rain till April, till Anzac Day. In March, just previous to that, it was sown to oats. And what we have here is the treated area where I am standing. And as we slide this way, we can see the line where it was not treated. Basically, after the rain and this crop came up, the whole paddock was grazed with sheep. And then the sheep were taken off. And this is just showing how fast the oats have come back after grazing versus the untreated. And we've got significant less compaction in this paddock on the best treated, as well as more moisture. And it has obviously rebounded a lot quicker after grazing. The untreated side of the paddock, significant amount of compaction as is normal, and it is a bit drier. And as we have a look at the two different types of soil now between the treated and the untreated, we notice that the soil itself is nice and loose and friable. It's just like potting soil already. It's formed a lot of aggregates. The roots on the plant have a lot of fibrous roots on them with good rhizospheres on, covering the roots. The untreated is still very, very cloddy and clumpy, and it's got those compaction layers in it. You can see this is basically just rooting that 2.5 inches down to that compaction layer. And that's it. We got no fibrous roots almost whatsoever, no rhizospheres on the roots, no soil hanging on. Whereas the treated ones here, they're just loaded with nice fibrous roots, and it just crumbles apart in your hands. As far as the amount of trash or forage growing back, we've got this versus that. So significant difference on the rebound for regrazing. So this is going to allow the farmer to have either a higher DSE in this paddock, or take forage off and sell it, or whatever. He's going to have a lot more options there. And of course the health, the palatability. If you feel these leaves, these are just nice and silky and smooth. You can't feel any burrs on them. And these ones here, you can just feel on the backside, you can just feel all the little prickles, all the little burrs, and of course much easier on the mouths of the sheep in this case for palatability to eat this product here versus these oats. So it's a huge difference. One interesting thing we did find here, we found an old canola stalk on the untreated side. This paddock had canola in it 6 years ago. The stalk is still sitting there, not broken down. We could find nothing like that on this soil. Everything is decomposing very nicely, adding a huge amount of nutrients to the soil, and of course that will all show up on his soil tests. He'll have a much higher available nutrient content in this beautiful soil here versus this cloddy stuff with no oxygen in it. This is still very much like rock hard. Again, we're finding earthworms on the treated side and virtually no activity on this side whatsoever. On the plants, I guess as you can see, this is kind of the floppy flat growing out. These have nice thick stalks. They're standing straight up. The color on the leaves, when you look at it into the sun anyways, this is a bit of a richer, darker green. These plants are a bit of a limey yellow, tough to see on this angle, but when you look into the sun, that's what we're seeing. And much higher bricks and sugar content in this side as well. Amount of tillers we're noticing here. You know, on one plant, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 on one plant. And we'll pull a plant off of this side here, a good one. And we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 on there. And really, if you look at that, we've got one main one and some really thin tillers. These ones here we're dealing with, look at that. We're dealing with probably 4 big main stalks out of there, and then some fairly nice secondary tillers. So it's a huge difference at this time. In this paddock here, what we're seeing is a split paddock situation. This side here treated with best product. The entire paddock being grazed down with sheep, and now we're just seeing the rebound growth. And as we come here towards the center of the paddock, we can see now on the left here that the untreated part of the paddock is very slow to rebound for growth, and just overall production is by far less than the treated side. And of course that's exactly what the farmer is looking for. And compaction issues as well on the treated side. We've got much less compaction, we've got more moisture holding capacity and greater nutrient availability. On the left side or the untreated side, compaction issues, water absorption issues, and slow growth. And what we're seeing in the winter months here with the cool, wet weather is that the FOS uptake, especially on the treated side, is much higher and greater than the untreated side, and we're having vigorous growth. We're also seeing about a 1 degree increase in soil temperature from the best side treated versus the untreated, and this is all adding up to much higher production. Okay, we're going to dig some of these plants and soil out. Here we are in the best treated side. Take a spade full of soil and plants out. And we'll just walk that over here to the untreated side of the exact same paddock. I'm going to set those down here. I'll get you to get a scoop just anywheres here. As you can see, it's significantly more compacted. Yep. And what we've got here is just really nice and crumbly, lots of aggregates, lots of fibrous roots here, all covered with soil. Rhizospheres forming just really peaty, good soil. We've got. And over here we've got still very cloddy, and look, I mean, we got the root difference here comparatively is extreme difference. The amount of tillers as well on an average plant here, we've got 1 main root shoot and 3 small tillers coming off. We grab one out of here, plant. We've got 1, 2, 3, or 4 main stalks coming up with another 2 or 3 small tillers. So you can see the production is huge. Also on the treated stuff, a very silky, leathery leaf for palatability. On the untreated, if we go on the side of the leaf here, you can feel all the little burrs. And so of course a little harsher on the mouth and the tongue for the animals. The palatability, extreme difference here. And that's where we really start to notice the selective grazing. And also if we were to do a leaf tissue analysis here, you will find a significant increase in bricks, sugar, and minerals compared to the untreated crop as well.